My name's Tyler Nail, and this is my Instagram Q&A. Number 1. What do you write first? Do you write lyrics first or find a melody and put it to words? I guess there's 3 major components to songwriting. There's the lyrics, there's the composition, and there's the melody. There's 2 starting places that tend to work for me. The one that does not work for me is starting with lyrics, like writing poetry and then trying to shape that into music. I have found in my experience that makes for clunky phrasing. It makes me feel like I'm committed to a certain idea and then I'm not able to always translate that idea into a musical pattern. So I try to stay away from that personally. I guess a lot of times for me, composition reveals melody, and melody reveals the space for lyrics. However, there have been occasions where I have a sentiment in mind or a feeling or a picture in my head. One example would be the song Willow Tree that I wrote a long time ago. I knew the mood that I wanted to strike. I knew the title of the song and kind of the vibe. So then that informed the way I found a composition. Still wrote the composition and through that found a melody and then wrote the full lyrics. But that one started with an idea rather than what sometimes happens, which is kind of discovering the idea throughout the writing process. Do you keep a notebook of ideas, observations, etc.? Journals are a very inspiring little object to me. It's a part of the lifestyle or function of somebody who wants to be a writer, an artist, a songwriter, or just a creative person who acts on their ideas on a regular basis. This one would be an example of kind of a brain spill journal. This is where I keep lists, where I jot down ideas, priorities, to little drawings, to notes from phone calls, to songwriting, to everything. They feel like extensions of myself in many ways. And I always have one of those with me. I keep a couple of other notebooks. One of them that's really important to me is an imagery journal. A really important component to art and to writing is observation. This journal has helped me be in the practice of constant observation and to retain some of that. I will sit down every once in a while and just write down images that come to mind, from my waking life. A deflated balloon stuck in a tree, or a white bird, a half-smoked cigarette, the little things that you see in life that are decorative and that make the world a little bit more, it's like it makes it clear that life is taking place in the world, that things are going on and that things have happened. And then you wonder why. You wonder how this balloon got stuck in this tree, or like how it got loose in the first place, or why this person put their cigarette out halfway through smoking it. So I just collect images in this journal. Another journal I have is every time I write a song, I will document it in this journal, and I have a list of all the songs I've written, and in part of that journal, I might kind of jot out, album ideas, like maybe these songs go together this way, kind of develop creative project ideas and play around with organizing songs. Another thing I do is I try to write down my dreams if I remember them, and I have a couple of notebooks that I've used to do that over the years. And when I wake up in the morning, if I can remember a dream, I might jot down what I've dreamed about and whatever imagery I see from that dream and what it might mean to me. Another notebook I keep is sort of a periodic type journal. Years can go by, and then I'll grab that journal and write down major life events that have taken place since the last time I wrote about it. And that's a time capsule of my life and where I was in 2014 and in 2025 and in 2008 and different things. I started a new journal recently, which is a show journal. So after I play shows, just write about what went well, what people enjoyed, what unique components were a part of the show, what people I met, and where I played, and whatever made that show unique for me and memorable for me. There's something about looking at a bound book of paper, that makes me want to let my mind go loose and collect thoughts, and I just love a journal. What artists do you draw inspiration from? Who speaks to you? There are a couple of key traits that I'm drawn to in artists, and probably in people in general. One of them would be like a true sense of self, that you get the impression from someone that they're just really who they are. You get the sense, not that you can prove it, but you get the sense that they're truly themselves. Some artists that come to mind would be like Levon Helm, Steve Earle, maybe Dave Chappelle or someone like that. Somebody who's just, I am me and kind of don't care how that lands, and I'm not trying to be anything but me. A little bit of bravery and rebellion goes a long way, I think. I like people who maybe make people a little bit mad, or maybe do something against the grain, or maybe aren't for everyone. Tom Waits, Eminem, Marilyn Manson, some of these artists that have made a big impact in a way that some people look at and say, I can't stand this. I tend to appreciate something about that. I tend to appreciate writers and vocalists who are, maybe they're rebellious and kind of go against expectation. A great unique voice, individuality in the realm of writing is something I love. I mean, that's what it's all about with songwriting. It seems like, Tom Waits writes like no one else in a way. John Prine writes like no one else. Bob Dylan writes like no one else. No one writes songs like The National. The National, they stand out among songwriters. There's components to storytelling that's consistent throughout all these great songwriters' works. So they're still confined to the same craft, but a unique voice, a unique way of writing, a unique way of capturing your own thoughts is inspiring to me. And joy of art is a huge thing. When I listen to Sam Cooke's live album, to me that's one of the greatest examples of a performer just thoroughly enjoying what they do, having a blast on stage, and everybody just loving it because it being about this unifying experience of joy and of celebration and passion. But if I had to give names, it would be like Tom Waits, John Prine, Johnny Cash, Levon Helm, maybe Father John Misty, and people who aren't in music. Jordan Peterson is inspiring. People who are really good at business inspire me. People who have high expectations and can be judgmental without being mean, can be constructive without being divisive. That's a super cool thing. What kept you motivated when you hit a long run in songwriting and practicing? There's motivation that comes when you're kind of in the grind and you're in a flow and you're feeling inspired or whatever, you're feeling like productive. And then there's the other side where you muster the will to practice and to stay sharp and stuff, even when you don't feel like it. What's always kept me motivated in general was a love for the craft and a desire to make a mark in it and to participate in it. When I was younger, what motivated me was the excitement of learning this instrument and learning this craft and trying to figure out who I was and what I had to say and how to say it in a way that made me feel like I was expressing myself. And then as I got older and trusted my craft more, trusted my contribution to the craft or my control of it, then the motivation started to be building something larger. And I've always been a little bit attentive to how many songs different songwriters have written, if they've written 300 or 500 or 1,000 or whatever. And I've always liked that idea of trying to write as much as I possibly could, write as many songs as I could. That has kept me motivated. And if I haven't written a song in a while, then I might start putting some pressure on myself and dig in a little bit and say, look, man, even if it sucks, even if they're not good, like grab 2 of these ideas that you've had for a while and just push out 2 songs that doesn't matter if you like them or not. Just write them so you can get back in the zone of being open to songwriting and accessing your voice. If there's an element of songwriting that I realize I haven't done much of, like writing from a certain perspective or writing on a certain subject, or using the guitar in a certain way. Maybe it's something as simple as I want to explore more upbeat music. I want to write for a little while with something more bumpy and steppy to it. It's as if I'm opening a new room to look around in and see what is left in there and see what what inspires me and what gets me excited about writing. What motivates me most probably is just wanting to know what else is in this craft, wanting to know what else there is in songs and in writing and in guitar. How do you heal? It's tough because we get beat up in life in all sorts of different ways, and depends on the wound you have, because every medicine's different. A broken bone is different than needing stitches. But in general, being alone is something that I care about. Listening to music is incredibly important. Walking in the woods and looking at trees, and I don't know why. It feels like it's something ancient in our humanity. I don't know. I don't understand it, but I love looking at different kinds of trees and trying to remember which ones they are and notice the differences and appreciate the leaves and appreciate the differences in bark and the shapes. I think water now. I live kind of near the coast now, and I can drive to a beach and I can watch the water on the rocks or on the sands, and I can feel small in the presence of that. It sounds like healing for me in many ways is connection to myself or connection to the outside world, and it just depends where I am, which of those things is more crucial. Spending time with my dog and the people that I care about and love is healing. Laughing is healing. Religious or not, praying slash meditating is something. There's something about connecting with your intentions and with the humility to submit yourself to your intentions and to your hopes and to your wishes, knowing that it's possible that things won't go the way you want them to, but sort of trying to negotiate, like what can I surrender, what can I let go of that will help me facilitate the right way of being in the world. What do you think life is teaching you right now? I like the way that's phrased because it seems to kind of acknowledge that there's no way to know for sure. And it's often in hindsight that we know what life is trying to teach us. For me, I think I'm learning what it's like to let go of some very deep parts of myself. I'm learning what remains of me after I let go of certain parts of myself. You know, I moved away from home like a year ago in a new place for the first time in my life, kind of doing new things, and life is harder. And with that, I'm obviously learning what that's like and also what that calls out of you, what that needs from you to be able to kind of start your life over, and how confident and how, you know, self-assured and comfortable in your own skin you need to be in order to kind of start anew where you have no reputation, no friends, no whatever. And you have to try. You have to be present. You have to be awake, and you have to put your best foot forward. I'm learning about admitting that I've got a long way to go before I reach my goals. And I'm also learning that there are certain things in your nature that if you know about them, it's harder to deny them. I've learned that I really do want time alone, and it's important to my creation and my artistry to have that. And last, I'm learning that your thoughts are very different than your actions. Your actions determine what your life is. Your thoughts feed into that. Your thoughts truly do become your actions, but you can think and think and think and think, trying to make your mind healthy, but it does not matter until you start putting things into practice and until you start acting on the things that you believe and the things that you want to bring about. What do you treasure about yourself? That's hard to say. I would probably never use the word treasure. I would prefer to say respect. What do I respect about myself? And one thing I respect about myself is I do not like bullshit. I do not like phony shit. I don't like dirty sport strategies, you know, trying to like screw people over or cheat the system. I don't like feeding into our worst traits knowingly and not being honest with ourselves. So when I see those things in myself, I try to resist them. I try to be real. I try to be me. And in my music and in my artistry, I would feel silly trying to come in front of people who are interested in what I have to say and putting on a fake persona, putting on a fake accent for the sake of capitalizing on people's attention and trying to trick them into thinking I'm something else. It's like, I don't do this to pretend to be somebody else. It's like, I'm just trying to be me. And I don't always see that a lot in the music industry. I see a lot of silly shit, and I resist as much of that as I can, because if you guys are going to listen to me, I just want to be me. I respect my drive to create despite hardships and despite it not growing at the rate that I would like it to sometimes or whatever. Despite things about it that I don't understand, I'm just glad that I've stayed in this craft. What would your ex say is the greatest lesson you taught them? I'm going to answer that one a little differently. I'm going to say, if I could choose a summary of what my life would be like and you know, at the end of my life, what somebody would be able to look at my biography or my memoir and say they got from it, if I could choose what my life demonstrated, it would be chasing your dreams is a worthwhile thing. Even if every path isn't perfect, even if every moment of it isn't, you know, blissful, it's still just worth it to try to have a life that's a little more exciting than what it could have been. We all have the potential to live a very ordinary life and to accept a feeling of like, yeah, I just live in this place and I just don't do anything very exciting. But I think it's important to try and do the most exciting, most interesting things that we can do. What's the best mistake you ever made? Probably getting a dog. She showed up in my life and I was like, I don't know if I should really do this. It's going to be a big responsibility and a big expense, but she's just made life happier. She's just funny, and she makes me go walk outside, and she makes me care about something other than myself. Probably opening my mind to new ideas. And I say that because sometimes it feels like a mistake. When I first started really learning how to let go of my view of the world and adapt to new views of the world, it made me into somebody I didn't like. And then I had to readjust again. And then I had to readjust again. Like ever since I allowed myself to kind of start entertaining new ideas, it's been hard to know which ones are right, and I've had to test them out and try and figure that out. But it's probably the best mistake I ever made, was to let myself truly let go of any of my theories and notions about the world and let myself take in new information. Maybe the biggest one is leaving my comfort zone, moving away from home. You know, there have been moments where I felt like it was a mistake because, like, I had such a nice, pleasant life back in North Carolina. The best neighbors and a great little house and all the space in the world and all the privacy and affordable life, and family was nearby. All these like things that made it very comfortable and made it home for me. So of course, when you leave all that behind and you start a new life somewhere else, there are times where you're like, what the hell did I do? And I miss everybody back home and I miss the old life. But I guess it's like kind of a mindset that limits growth, that makes you think like, I've done enough, I've accomplished enough, I am enough, whoever I've developed into is the end result. And to me, that's how you start getting old, and how you stop being new, and how you stop exploring the adventure of life. And it took me forever to make the decision to finally kind of step out of that place and go on to something new. I knew I needed to do it for a long time, and I put it off and finally did it. And it's not like it's all glamour. It's not like it's all perfect. It's not like I'm rolling in money and opportunity. Nothing like that. But I let go of some of the most adolescent parts of myself, and I've stepped into a new ability, a new level of growth that is bringing about a new life for me. And I'm glad about that. And number 10, what inspires you? There's some kind of fascination I have with the idea of music that has real longevity to it that I find inspiring. People will often say things like, oh, you know, it doesn't matter. No one will remember you in 100 years or whatever. No one will remember you after you die. But we do remember Beethoven and Mozart and Picasso and Van Gogh and Orson Welles and Leonard Cohen and all sorts of artists. Like we remember them and their legacy of what they created. And like that statement is just bullshit. Tons of legacies in all sorts of areas remain past your death. Lots of people are remembered after they die. So I don't really buy that, and I think art is an opportunity, whatever, to create something that might last longer than your own life, and I think I'm inspired by that idea. I'm inspired by the idea of a great life. I'm inspired by the pursuit of dreams. I'm inspired by ambition. I'm inspired by the pursuit of greatness. I'm inspired by work ethic, especially other people's work ethic, people who just like will not stop until they get where they're trying to go. I'm inspired by uniqueness. I'm definitely inspired by individuality, by people who can think for themselves and are not tricked, not easily tricked. I'm inspired by bravery. I am inspired by improvement, by the desire to improve things, improve the self, improve your surroundings, just anything. And lastly, by self-expression. I mean, that's why I do this. And so music obviously inspires me, and self-expression through music and through lyric writing inspires me the most. It's my craft in life. If I had to insist that I had a calling or something that I was supposed to be doing, it would be that. And the desire to do so inspires me. Anytime I have a moment of clarity and a moment of peace of mind, that's what I want to do. Thank you to those who contributed questions to the Instagram Q&A. I appreciate the questions, and I hope you got something out of the answers.